Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Fred,
I'm Brian.
and been away for a little while, but we're back.
Yeah.
So we'll let Brian get through our usual rundown and go from there.
Well, as you know, I'm currently on night shift and Fred is on day shift. That's why these videos have been a little bit harder to make and why it's taken us a little bit longer. But we're finally here. So we're going to discuss the difference between day shift and night shift. Fred had discovered a article about a drug that was produced to kill cancer cells, but not healthy cells. And we're going to talk about tattoos. Just in general. We can also do that in law enforcement and, society wise. So we're going to go ahead and start off with night shift versus day shift. Like I said, Fred has been on days, I've been on nights. So we're just
I,
pretty
I,
much going to
I
break
got
it down.
lucky. I picked that sweet spot that nobody wants to work, and like a late day shift car that's almost like a mid shift, so nobody wants it, but it works out fantastic for me because nobody wants it.
Yeah. Well, I
So
got
no, so and Brian is stuck on the rotating. So we hit that like 6 month period where it was time to rotate and move everybody, and he got dragged to night shift, which he's one of the handful of people that's not a big fan of night shift. I'm 50-50 on it. So what is your thing that you hate the most about being on night shift?
just the fact that it messes up your days. I mean, as soon as it hits midnight, technically, if it's your next day off, say you work Wednesday or Tuesday, and then it hits Wednesday, and just working that other 6 hours on Wednesday night when it's supposed to be your day off. But I mean, I guess that kind of makes up for later. But I mean, still, it just messes up your days internally. You have to black out your entire room wherever you sleep, so you can sleep during the day. Uh, you got to worry about people mowing their lawns, interrupting your sleep. I know some people that'll wear like the face masks and put in noise canceling headphones and stuff. So it's just you have to compete with so many other things while working night shift as far as other people up and moving and doing stuff outside.
Well, piggybacking off of your point about it messing up your days, and people look at it and they go, you work 12 hours no matter what. It's the same difference. And yes, you still do get the same number of hours off. The problem is when you try to have somewhat of a normal life, like basically you get home, like let's say Brian gets off at 6 a.m. and he gets home and it's probably 6:30, almost 7 o'clock. And then time it takes him to wind down and actually get in bed and go to sleep, it's probably pushing 8, 9, 10 o'clock sometimes trying to get to sleep. And you still have to find that window because you still have to go grocery shopping on your days off. You still have to get your car worked on. You have to do normal people things. So your window where normal people are awake anywhere between 12 and 14 hours during the day, his window gets shrunk down of opportunity to do things because he's only up for maybe 4 or 5 hours when like businesses are still open for things like getting your car done, banks, things like that. So it definitely screws things up. And especially, if you have those things that have to be done on a certain day, on a certain time, you have no choice. You got to either stay up and get those done before you go to bed, or, get like 2 hours of sleep, do that stuff and then come back, or it's brutal on the body. It really
It's
is.
especially if you have court, because then you have to go. You don't get a choice to go or not go. So,
Bro, real talk. So when because I was in major crimes at my first agency, and I made an arrest on something that was pretty notable, and it went until it got dragged through the court system. It took forever until I got to this agency that we're at now, and I was in training. We were on nights, and I got off at 6 in the morning, and obviously I'm going to court in another jurisdiction, so I'm not allowed to wear my uniform unless the court case was I was in this capacity for this agency helping that other agency, then I can. But so I had to go home, I had to shower, I had to change, and then I had to hightail it to the courthouse in the other jurisdiction that we used to work for. And I'm sitting there in court, and of course I was the lead detective, so I was absolutely the last one to go, just like every other case you work as a detective. And I sat there all day long, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, 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 we're gonna get you in by like 9 o'clock." Okay, no, no, no. Okay, well, the attorneys wanted to talk to this person first. We got you in at 11. Well, we're breaking for lunch, so we're gonna get you first thing out. Well, they wanted to talk to this other person. Before you knew it, they ended up finishing up everything. They didn't even want to call me up on the stand because the guy had pled or whatever the case was. And here it is, like 5:30 in the evening, when they're calling it quits and going home. They told me I didn't have to come back the next day because they were done. They were saving sentencing and stuff for the next day. And it's like, I just sat here this entire day. I literally did not go to sleep after working night shift. I didn't go to sleep until maybe, when you get home and now your family wants to see you. So then I had to like chug a bunch of energy drinks and stay up until they went to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock. And I was out for at least like 15 hours, 16 hours. And that's the kind of crummy stuff you have to deal with on night shift. It's awful. It is awful sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps if you're single and you don't have a family, and your family doesn't live anywhere near you, so you don't have really any family pressures. But when you have a family, you have kids, you have family that lives around you, and they want to do stuff for holidays and all these things that
They try to understand, but they
yeah,
don't.
exactly. I mean, unless you have family members that actually work overnight, because we're not the only ones that work overnight. There's fire, EMS,
Places like
yeah,
grocery stores that
McDonald's,
stock overnight
yeah,
and stuff, like all kinds of
yeah,
places work
Walmart,
overnight.
whatever. But unless they've actually done it and worked in it for a while, you really don't get it. So most people are 9 to 5, come home 5:30, and then have the whole evening to relax and do whatever they want.
Well, and I know I said before that I'm 50-50, and I've said it to you multiple times that if, like you just said, if I was single and I didn't have kids and stuff like that, I absolutely 1000% would want to be a night shift. I'm a night owl. I like the late night working and stuff like that. The daytime sleeping and stuff sucks, but once you get a family and you have people that want to see you all the time and hang out with you and spend time with you and do stuff, night shift sucks. Like it sucks because they try to be understanding and they try to let you sleep as much as you can, but then they're like, they're going to be in bed by like 8, 9 o'clock, so they want you to be up and moving and doing things at least. Like, can you get up at noon, maybe push it to 12:30? I'm like, but I just got to bed at like 9. But okay, sure, fine, whatever. And then, dude, I working this job at night shift, I aged probably like 15 years in a matter of like 2, 3 years. Like, it just absolutely just destroyed my body. And like, I was always eyes sunken in. I mean, they still freaking are, but well, eyes were always sunken in. Body hurts. Like the toll it takes on your family life and your health. Like we've seen so many studies coming out that and things that have said how horrible working at nights is for the body. And on top of it, you have like our agency likes to do the rotating, which I get it. I understand everybody shares in the misery. I get it. That's fine. But finding that sweet spot, because there was talk for a little while, from what I understood, people wanted to rotate every 3 months, which I guess got shot down because scientists and doctors and stuff have said that with studies that it takes you about 3 months to get your body acclimated to a schedule. So we'd be rotating right when your body gets adjusted. And so we still do, like, it's 6 months now, right? I don't know, because I don't rotate anymore. So
you're gonna find out here in 6 months.
yeah.
But because Fred is on rotating days right now, I'm on nights. But anyways, I mean, it's not always a bad thing. I mean, you can pull a lot more traffic stops, find a lot more drugs. There's easier to pull people over because of equipment violations. And just at certain points, I would probably say from about like maybe 2 to 4-ish, there's absolutely maybe one car on.
He's going to do it. He's going to say it's quiet, and then he's going to go to work and he's going to get crushed between 2 and 4. He's going to end up going home late. That's one thing we don't do in our profession. We don't use the Q word because then it pops off. So, but yeah, to your point, yeah, there's a lot less traffic to do stops on, but the amount like the statute book, the amount of traffic infractions that you can find expands, because you're not just looking for moving violations. You're not just looking for people doing stuff like, not wearing their seatbelt and stuff like that. You're now you've got tail lights out, tag lights out, you've got headlights out, you've got people, it's easier to not be seen and catch speeders.
Yeah.
So it does make some of the job a lot easier as far as proactivity and stuff like that. And you do have, and again, everything that we do isn't black and white, so it's gray, but in general you do have a lower call volume in general, which does give you time for more proactivity. I mean, do you have those nights on nights where you're getting crushed from roll call to quitting time? Yeah, but more often than not, like you said, from that 1-2 o'clock hour until quitting time on night shift, it's usually, it's a little more sparse on calls for service usually.
Yeah. I mean, we have like major incidences like DUIs. Domestics are more common at night and during the evening. I mean, you've got the bars where people are fighting, and just bigger calls that could probably take longer. Kids running away. I've worked several of those at night where people have ran away from home, and I mean, you get it's nice to have that little extra time to do more investigative work, so a detective doesn't have to come out and do a lot more than if during the day.
Speaking from the perspective of a detective, very few road patrol units actually take the time to make sure that the detectives don't have to come out. Brian and some of the crews I've worked with usually work extra hard, but some of them go, let's just call the detective. We can't handle this. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see. How I was trained was you do it, you investigate as much as you can to where, or unless, we're getting crammed, but regardless, it's interesting. It's definitely different days. I know for sure, because me and Fred were on days for the longest time for the last year here. And
where all the stupid happens.
Yeah.
The nonsensical, like someone flicked me off and hurt my feelings. Someone's dog pooped on my lawn. My child won't wake up and go to school. Can you come discipline them for me? The nonsense that you should never call the police for. That's when we get those, is during the daytime. So,
and I mean, I've gotten civils in like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not gonna deny that, but I mean,
it never ceases to amaze me. The CAD lights up and you get dispatched to a call at 2:30 in the morning, and it's like, my car got broken into 3 weeks ago, and I really didn't, I just figured 2:30 in the morning, after I've been driving it for 3 weeks and touching everything and destroying all the evidence, was the time to call you guys and come out and process my car. And like, so there is stupid at night. There is, but we definitely get the day shift. It leans way more towards the nonsense calls, way more in general than nighttime does. And my favorite is places to eat. Obviously, you definitely limit your choices at night to like gas stations and fast food joints.
Pretty much, unless you bring your food like I do.
Unless you bring your food, or you might get lucky that there's, I don't know, like a sit down place, like a Chili's style place that's open till like 10 o'clock. You can maybe squeak in if calls permit, but man, from that shift change time to like 10 o'clock at night, you're like hopping, and it's tough to go. I mean, you're gonna have to basically order it to go and pull up in their curbside and have them bring it out to you and just scarf it down when you can, and that's a mess. Eating in the car is a mess. So
yeah, well, our vehicles are basically our office, our eating area, pretty much our everything, for the most part. But I mean, I've had more DUIs. I'm going to say this, but honestly, I've had more DUIs during the day in my short time with the agency than I have had at night.
Well, we talked about that before. I would say in 11 years, it's probably evened out to about 50-50 for me. it does when you're on nights, it feels like you're getting DUIs a lot more. But when you take a step back and you really sit back and remember your DUIs, you're like, oh, shit, there's almost as many on days as on nights. And the difference though is at night you usually have the idiots that are out just trying to get drunk and pick up a girl or hanging out with their friends and getting toasted, while during the day I would say our more brutal DUIs are during the day, because we usually have, that's where the pro drinkers are drinking. That's when you get those guys that are like Marines that have been drinking for 60 years and they can pound back like an entire bottle of whiskey and still pass a field, not that you pass or fail, but pass a field sobriety exercise. And the eyes are the only way you can tell that they've been drinking, and they're functioning alcoholics, and those are the ones that usually end up being like brutal crashes and stuff like that. So
yeah. I know we've had a DUI where our local business caught fire and was burnt down.
Is that the one where the car launched into the building?
Yeah,
it
freaking launched off the side of the curb, went into the building and caught it on fire.
Oh. And the worst part was the building that caught fire. Not necessarily that, I don't feel bad for them or anything, but all the other businesses around too got caught on fire, and they were like big respectable businesses and stuff, and or at least staples, like the community loved them.
Yeah, big local businesses.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I told you what they were and you didn't live in our state or our town, the next town over probably doesn't know what they are, but within the community, they're staples, and they got just because people are morons and they can't just, in this day and age, there's, not to get off on a side tangent, but in this day and age, there's zero excuse for a DUI between Uber, between Lyft. I mean, there's just, and it's so much more expensive to go out and drink. I mean, you might as well just stay home and get drunk, and then you don't have to worry about driving. There's zero excuse anymore, other than being a moron or selfish and not caring about the impact on others.
I mean, they even have companies that will deliver alcohol to your door at this point in time. So,
yeah.
I mean,
they may charge you a nice hefty delivery fee, but you know what?
Yeah.
Hey, it beats having
losing your driver's license, going to court.
That's expensive too. Like DUIs are up to like they're at the beginning of my career, they were like $10,000 a pop. Like, I think they're climbing now. I mean, they're even more than that now, I think, between attorney's fees and court's fees. And on top of that, if you end up going to prison because you killed somebody because you're stupid, like, it ain't even worth it.
Yeah.
That's our cops against drunk driving for the episode.
Yeah. But, just one more story as far as that. Daytime DUI, lady hit a school bus that thankfully no kids were in. I get on scene. I ask her about the damage on the side of her car. She didn't even know she hit anybody, even though she stopped for about 15 minutes, according to what we were told anyways.
That was the Camaro, right?
Yeah, it was the Camaro.
Yes.
Were you with us at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
The orange Camaro.
Yeah. So, she didn't know. She was like, what damage? And then I showed her. And then
the car looks like she scraped across the side of a building.
Exactly. And I later heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, so I later heard that she was coming back from an AA meeting.
Of course. That's too stupid to make up, of course.
Right.
So, no, I know you said one last story, but so on my previous agency, again, I told you the brutal ones, the daytime DUIs. So in the area, it's one of those sections where it was a small 2-lane road, and the county had bought up some of the easement area and some of the property from the businesses to expand it so it's multiple lanes going each direction. And like they do with construction, while they're fixing this section of road, they bend the road a little bit, so you're not driving through the part they're trying to work on. So this lady is blown out of her mind, just toasted, like stupid, falling over drunk, and she's driving and the road shifts to the left, and she did not. And she kept going straight into the dirt. She drove probably like a good 50 yards, like bouncing through dirt and rocks and stuff. And I don't know if she stopped the car or she came to a stop because of the terrain, but her car literally stopped this close from hitting one of those, when they have the gas lines and they've got the big stop stick sticking out. That's like, hey, do not touch this. It can explode. And this close. this close to being a fireball on the side of the road, all because she had to get obliterated almost got obliterated because she had to get obliterated in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So that was at like 10 in the morning. Like, I mean, people don't understand when you're on night shift, sometimes you come home and you're like one of the handful of people that day drink because that's your nighttime for you. But to be a normal person that works 9 to 5 and you're like a 0.3, 0.4 blood alcohol at 10 in the morning.
9 in the morning. I've had one at 9 in the morning where the lady almost ran off another agency patrol vehicle while he was going into work.
We've had people driving through Walmart parking lots because they made a wrong turn trying to go home, and they're in the Walmart parking lot and they're just side swiping and bouncing off cars, ping ponging off cars and stuff. I mean, I had no clue until I started this job how many people drove drunk during the day. It's constant. It really is. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
It truly is terrifying. So anyways, off the topic of DUI,
right? Sidebar. But so the number one thing I think most cops, and I don't think we mentioned this but the number one thing that most cops love about night shift, and sorry if any of you are listening, but is there's no command staff. That is the beauty of night shift. That is the little caveat that's like, I can suffer through night shift because I don't have to worry about command staff popping in and being like, hey, just checking on you on your traffic stop. Like, we love you, but you can go away now, please. Thank you. So,
well, at least with our agency, there's like at least one person above a sergeant or lieutenant. But I mean,
but their watch commander is responsible for the entire entire agency. There's usually two of them. They're in charge of the entire road patrol for the agency for that day or night shift, whatever they're on. So they ain't got time to be coming around and bothering you and messing with you and stuff like that. Not that our command staff does that, but you never know.
Exactly.
I've had, my previous agency, I've been out on a traffic stop and had the sheriff back me up on the stop, and there was nothing more terrifying than hearing their call sign on the radio, and they're like, show me out with the unit on this traffic stop, and I'm like, oh god, oh no. But it's night shift has its a lot of benefits, but it has a lot of negatives. The cooler weather. I mean, we already live in a hot area, and then it's cooler. And not that it's
not that all of our stuff makes it nice and easy for us during the day or night.
Not that it really gets cold not that it gets cold at night, but it's like at least the sun's not beating on you. It's still warm. I mean, there is a lot more time. I think that's the best part about nights. And listen, crazy stuff has happened to me on days. The closest I've ever been to having to pull the trigger was on days. Somebody was threatening to kill us with a knife and then a gun. It happened. It was on days. At our current agency, where people have actually, there's a lot less crime, knock on wood, in our agency than the previous one. But night shift tends to have more excitement. Like you said, domestic violences go up, so we respond to a lot more hot calls and dangerous calls and stuff like that at night. In general, a lot more exciting. It's a good experience for the newer people to get accustomed to the craziness of the job. Most new people get stuck working on nights for the first year or two, maybe 3 of their career. You got lucky. You were on a permanent days because for one reason or another, nobody wanted to take that shift, which is unusual, but there's a logical explanation. And once that problem had been corrected, everybody wanted it back. So you got the short end of the stick because of your tenure there. So
I started solo on nights, so I was kind of used to it. I'm working the same area I am now, so, and I've been working the same area for the past year and probably a half now that I've been out by myself. But
it's a good time.
I mean, it definitely has its difficulties, especially during day, with just kind of recapping, just difficulties during the day when you have friends, family that want to hang out with you. unless you have friends on night shift, like I'm lucky to have. I have a few friends that work night shift and happen to have the same days off. I mean, that helps out tremendously. Family wise, like Fred was saying, it does take a toll because family wants to, oh, we're gonna have lunch, and just like that's kind of my midnight at this point. So
Well, and I could tell you when when I was on nights before, when I had my young ones when they were little still, um, you know, they basically, when I was on nights, they could care less if I was home. They couldn't care less if I was home or not, and it didn't bother them if I came or went. And then once I switched to days and they started seeing me all the time, they started crying when I left. They didn't want me to go. So the behavior with small children, even just the difference between night and day shift, it's noticeable. So it really does take a toll on everything in your personal life. So if you elect to be on night shift, you better think about all the possibilities, especially if you plan on getting into any specialty units, because most specialty units work day shift with on call and getting called out in the middle of the night. But
yeah,
it's good to maybe get a little experience on days and get comfortable with a normal life again. So
yeah, it's nice to be rotating, so you're not completely, unless that's what you want. I've met a few people that work with us. Parrish, who we had on not too long ago, he loves night shift. He's on permanent nights right now. I just don't want to do that. I don't mind. Yeah, more power to you. Trust me. I'd love permanent days, but rotating's okay with me too. So, all right. So with that,
yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and move on to this new drug that you discovered. I mean, I didn't even hear about it until you told me about it, and I had to research it myself.
Yeah, what blew my mind, and to avoid getting into too much conspiracy theory on it, it's definitely concerning because I sent you the first article that I found, and we couldn't even find that original article. But when we started pulling this back up to start reading through it and refreshing ourselves on it, so it was semi difficult to find the information. Like, surprisingly, I mean, this is a this is a drug that scientists are using to attack cancer cells and not harm everything else around it. That's concerning. But it's typical fashion. Important things get pushed to the side, so because they don't fit narratives or virtue signaling. But basically, what this is a drug, and they basically describe it as a Trojan horse drug. What it does is it's a light activated drug where they mix it in. They've tested it on zebrafish, and they've done minimal tests on human cells so far, but they attach this drug to a chemical compound found within food molecules. And when it gets put into the body and it gets into your system, it's then activated only by light. And at that point, the molecule is called, and I'm sure this is probably the chemical compound, and there's probably a name for it, and I'm probably not even giving it to you right, but it's SENBD, and it's when I'm reading here, it's smaller than existing light sensitive treatments. So what that means is it can pass through all the cell's defenses undetected, and then cancer cells and other drug resistant bacterias, they then detect that as food because it's attached to food, and they're greedier than your healthy cells, and they steal a lot of the food and the nutrients from your healthy cells. And once they start ingesting all of these healthy cells, they hit it with light and it activates it and it kills the cancer cells. And it essentially avoids harming any of your good or healthy cells, at least so far in the testings that they've shown. And the articles that we found here are from the end of May and then June 1st. So, I mean, this is fairly new stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we're a little way away from it actually being put out to the public and stuff like that. But I mean, they're even labeling it a metabolic warhead, because it's doing so much damage to these cancer cells.
Yeah, and I mean, none, at least when we were doing our initial research, or my initial research, I didn't find a single United States-based article, news. I had to go to Scotsman, the British, Scotland media to find this. I mean, it's just insane that it's not a definitive cure, but I mean, this is I would say, a significant breakthrough. Um, Especially if it's, light activated. It's, it doesn't destroy healthy cells, only harmful cells. I mean, this is just
So
mind blowing why it's not
as it
everywhere.
as it stands right now, the research from the Scotsman here, the research is being done at the University of Edinburgh. Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland, and it's been peer reviewed. It's an experimental study right now. Like I said, it's been carried out on zebrafish and human cells. It says, but researchers say more studies are needed to confirm if it is safe. It is a safe and swift method of treating early stage cancer and drug resistant bacteria. So, I mean, the fact that this isn't being talked about more is a little bit mind boggling and concerning to me. You know, and I get we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We don't know if this is a viable option yet. It's gotten through the peer review. They've gotten through early testing. It sounds like they've already done more testing for this than they did for the COVID vaccines that everybody's pumping into their bodies. So why are we not talking about this more? Why is this not being discussed as bigger than it actually is? I mean, this is how things like this start. This is how cancer treatments, this is how the end of all these horrible diseases and viruses, this is how they start, is someone stumbles upon an idea that was like, that's stupid, and then it worked. And then they start testing it and it's still working, and it's working more. And every time they test it, now they've moved on to human cells and it's working. So why are we not talking about this? And that's a rabbit hole. I shouldn't even ask that question, because that's a rabbit hole that's going to take another 2 hours. But it's concerning for me, and at risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist, it's concerning to me that we have things like this, that when you and I go to research them, it's difficult to find answers. That's concerning for me, because it makes me feel like the American drug community and American medical community isn't really interested in these kind of things, isn't really interested in something that is going to eradicate a problem. Because a lot of people feel that insurance companies and drug companies and medical community have a tendency to want to cure the symptoms rather than cure the disease, because if you cure the disease, there's not really as much money in it. So, I mean, this concerns me that it's so difficult to find information on this, because it shouldn't be. This should be front and center everywhere. I mean, this is huge. I mean, I don't know about you, as someone that I've lost multiple family members to cancer. My wife has lost family members to cancer. It is something that affects a lot of people, and it is indiscriminate. It doesn't care about your race, age, gender, sexual orientation. It is, I mean, yes, are some races or genders or whatever more prone to certain types of cancer? Maybe, sure, but it is indiscriminate. It will kill everyone the same, and this is something that people should be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky. My family's been lucky and blessed that my grandmother had cancer, but she's survived, I believe, twice already. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if this came out earlier, I'm pretty sure that would be a viable option for her. And I mean, like you said, it's very disconcerting that, no one besides Scottish media is covering this. I mean, even the English version of the CDC, I believe it's the National or NIH, whatever, it has even written an article about it, but we haven't even seen it over here in the States.
And just to kind of piggyback onto all of it, I said before they call it a metabolic warhead, and just reading through the Scotsman, it says that it's a light activated photosynthesizer, meaning it kills cells only after it is turned on by visible light. It says this means that a surgeon can precisely decide when they want to activate the drug, reducing the chances of it destroying healthy tissue and avoiding side effects like hair loss caused by other anti-cancer agents, which is said by the university. And the findings are published in the journal Nature Communications. I don't know if that's a big medical journal or not. I don't know. I'm not well versed in stuff like this as far as medical journals and stuff like that. When I hear about something, I dig and I research. But um, I mean, even the lead researcher, Professor Mark Vendrell, he's the chair of translation chemistry and biomedical imaging at the University of Edinburgh. This research represents an important advance in the design of new therapies that can be simply activated by light irradiation, which is generally very safe. I mean, it says SENBD is one of the smallest photosynthesizers ever made, and its use as a Trojan horse opens up many new opportunities in interventional medicine for killing harmful cells without affecting surrounding tissues. I mean, this sounds, and again, we don't want to put the cart before the horse, but
Yeah.
like, why is this not being talked about more, funded more, pushed more? I mean,
And I'm not a scientist, obviously. I didn't choose that path, but it sounds like from just this article that it could be used for other things too if they modify it correctly. It could be possibly, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor or anything, but possibly it could be a cure for, HIV, AIDS. Not too versed on those diseases, but I mean, it's sort of sounds like they could kind of start finding cures for these other diseases that have been plaguing society for a while now.
And it sounds like they're leaving the door open for that. The way he's discussing this chemical compound is that if we can successfully find a way to use this to eradicate cancer in early stages, what's to stop us from figuring out how to do it in late stage cancer? What's to stop us from HIV or any other harmful cells that get put in your body? Autoimmune diseases, absolutely, like that. Why not? And that's the first step. So again, the conspiracy theorist in me is concerned by the fact that the only place we can find this is in a Scottish news article. Like,
Yeah.
why is this not blowing up everywhere? And people need to take things with grains of salt. Like, yeah, this is important. Yeah, this is good. And there's no guarantee that the follow-up testing to this is going to show that it's viable. But the follow-up testing, even if the follow-up testing to this fails, they know what worked and what didn't work, and they can then go back to the drawing board and tweak what was already working to try and get over that hump. This is how everything, this is how laws get passed and progress. This is how science and medicine progresses. This is how everything progresses. So this should be one of the most talked about things. And I just saw it actually in passing on Facebook, and I was like, and I clicked on it and I was like, holy crap. Like, and it was on some conservative page or something like that. I think it was like the Daily Wire or Ben Shapiro or something, I don't know. But again, it just, it blows my mind that this is not more heavily discussed because of the implications of this, all the destroyed families, all the things that this could salvage and save. And we're talking about everything else except this.
Yeah.
So
I mean, everything's politics now or COVID-19, but
keep you distracted over here so we can make the other thing go away over here.
Exactly.
That concerns me. So,
well, yeah, I really don't have anything else left to say about that. Just surprised it's not on CNN, Fox, MSNBC, or anything like that. I mean, even just a 5-minute segment of it would be a breath of fresh air.
And I want to keep going with this. Like, I would definitely be interested in revisiting this like down the road in another episode once we get more information or once this moves along. I definitely would be interested in seeing what the progress is on this. See if 2 months from now we're still got the same information and nobody's talking about it. I'd be curious. So
yeah. All right. From that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our last topic: tattoos.
From putting something into your body to putting something into your body.
Yeah, so, right. Something good to something, it depends.
Yeah, maybe. Your viewpoint, really. It's perspective.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah. Mostly that. And, so since you took a drink and we can all see your tattoos, why don't you go ahead and start off this segment since you have the
unintentional. So I spent probably most of my life very anti-tattoo. I grew up in a super conservative household, and I grew up on like being fed the information that tattoos are trashy and blah blah blah, whatever. Old school mentality. It was for bikers and convicts and people in the military. And I was clean skinned. I was my temple was clean until I met my wife. She had a handful of them, a couple, when I met her, and I didn't realize that I liked them on females as much as I did until we started dating and stuff. And eventually, like, there wasn't any pressure. She's like, "Oh, you look good with one," but there wasn't any real pressure. And finally, I just caved and got one. And dude, it's a sickness, bro. It is a sickness. Like, if you get one and you get the right one and it looks good and you love the way it looks, it is addicting, dude. It's an expensive habit. I went from 0 tattoos to, I haven't had a new tattoo in a long time because children, everything's expensive. But
Yeah.
I think I was just telling you, I've got like full sleeves and stuff, but if you break those up into the little pieces that you obtained them in, I've probably got about 22 or so between the chest and the legs and the arms and stuff. But first and foremost, as tattooed as I am, and I would like to get more, don't get them on your face.
No.
or your visible neck, unless you're already in a job that well versed in that job, that well ingrained, and they don't care about it. It doesn't bother them. It's like tattoo artists do what you want.
Yeah, tattoo. Well, they have tattoos everywhere.
You work in a bar where they don't care.
Yeah,
do what you want.
Obviously, for our profession, it's a little bit different. That's always been a controversial point, especially even for our agency. Just recently, and not too long ago, I believe you had to like wear sleeves. Is that correct? To cover up.
Yeah, when I first started at this agency 2 years ago, they're very traditional, very old school on a lot of things. They're very progressive on some things and very traditional on other things. We're still not allowed to have facial hair.
Yeah.
Many agencies are allowing that, but when I first got there, we had to have sleeves. I had like Under Armour that was like the cool Under Armour for when you're out in the heat and stuff, and I just wore that, and you covered it up. And in reality, I think that looks stupid. Especially when people get like the skin colored sleeves. I'm like, you're not fooling anybody. Everybody knows that that's not your skin. Like, we get it, but I think it just looks, as unprofessional as some people may think the tattoos look. I think wearing the sleeves underneath the uniform detracts from the cleanliness of the uniform. I think it looks bad. And our agency made the decision, and I think it was a good decision.
Yeah.
I think we got rid of we changed the tattoo policy. It was 2019, right?
Yeah. It would have to be within the time I got hired, because when I was first going through the process, person in HR was actually talking about you, and how you had to wear sleeves. And they didn't call you out by name because I didn't know you obviously at that point, but they just said, yeah, we have another deputy that just came from your other agency and had to wear sleeves. Yeah, it's almost a slip there, but I caught it. But
I think they did the right thing. I honestly, in my experiences, the tattoos, they humanize us a little bit. I think people have a lot of people. I was never in the military. A lot of people that are in the military that come to law enforcement, they have tattoos, and they have people that maybe they're good people, maybe they're bad people, but especially with the bad people, with the criminals, they look at that and they're like, oh, you were a Marine, or oh, you were from this branch of the military, or oh, I like it. Do you know how many times I've had people go, man, where do you get your tattoos done? And I'm like, I don't want to tell them because I don't want this person to go to my tattoo shop, but they're like, oh, where'd you get your tattoos? And it is like a talking piece. There's those concerns, like if you ever want to get into narcotics, people may recognize your tattoos. Okay, fine. Like, that is an absolutely viable argument. But in general, I think with the general public, you're going to have some people that are like, oh, those are so trashy, you can't, but a lot of people, when you talk to them and you, it is like it's just like when someone's wearing a Red Sox hat and you're like, oh yeah, you're a Red Sox fan. Even if I'm not a Red Sox fan, I lie to them and I'm like, yeah, the Red Sox. Oh yeah. And then, it's a conversational piece, and it blurs the line between the badge and you and them, and they get a little more comfortable with you. I mean, especially for like an interview technique, it works great. And I've had people ask me about tattoos, and we get 15-minute discussion on tattoos, and then all of a sudden they're comfortable talking to you and telling you, what they witnessed or what they were a suspect in or what they were a victim in. And people that weren't comfortable a minute ago want to talk to you,
Yeah.
um, my big thing with tattoos, and I will never ever 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 tell somebody what they can and can't do or what they should do. But for me personally, I think having tattoos that don't, all my tattoos have meaning to them. There's nothing, I don't think there's one tattoo on my body that's not something that's like, yeah, I got like Batman tattoos because Batman's my favorite comic book character ever, but that's important to me. That's something that's special to me.
Yeah.
All my stuff has meaning. I don't just go in there and be like, that one on the wall, give me that. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care for that. If that's your thing, cool. But I spend a lot of time, and I was lucky. I found a really, really good tattoo artist, and he doesn't live in our area anymore. He moved to another
No.
state, but
I was going to ask you because I was going to try and
yeah,
get some more tattoos, but
yeah, I'll tell you what the shop is, a little later. There's still a lot of good people there. But he was fantastic. I loved everything he did. I'm not big into like the traditional style of tattoos. I like more modern styles, and he's big into like comics and anime and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. So he has a good range of like anime style and all the other styles and stuff like that. So he does a lot of different stuff.
oh. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you were saying, our agency is very traditional in some ways and very progressive and different. I believe the tattoo policy was a good change. And I only have one tattoo, but I've obviously trying to get some more. But between what I'm doing as far as saving for a house and other financial uh, things I want to do, it's just not a viable option right now. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's unprofessional. I've had conversations with a whole bunch of people. I've gotten to know them, just talking with them, just because of their tattoos. And I'll be like, hey, well, what's that tattoo? And they're like explaining. They usually have a whole backstory, especially if there's a name to attached to it. A lot of people get their kids. Any memorial, I've seen a lot of that, especially for children and law enforcement and military type tattoos. Those are kind of traditional if you had a family member or something. But
Yeah, I mean, I have some law enforcement tattoos. I try to keep all the law enforcement stuff in a place that's covered. So
yeah,
when I'm out and about, you can't really tell. And the one law enforcement one that's visible is so minutely related to law enforcement. I mean, unless you're in law enforcement, you would never pick it out. It almost looks like pseudo military. So you wouldn't guess it anyway. And back to the narcs argument, I worked in major crimes, and having dealt with our narcotics unit at the other agency, these dopers are dumb. Like they're not smart, most of them. That's why they get caught. But I mean, I have seen narcotics undercover detectives with big old tattoos on their arms, like visible, showing like the law enforcement flag on their arm, and they still sell dope to these guys. So I mean, they're not exceedingly intelligent. So I still, I would recommend, if you're ever going to get a law enforcement tattoo, like definitely keep it out of the visible areas and stuff like that. Cause I mean, just, it's better safe than sorry. But I think it's great. Like, it humanizes you to the public, and the public is great. First and foremost, I try not to, when I go to work, I try not to be messing with, Grandma Betty and like 78-year-old women that are, going to get offended by my tattoos. More often than not, we try to be in high crime areas, so we're visible to the criminals, and it doesn't bother them. And if it does, I don't care. So
yeah,
but I think it's good. There's there's a lot of things that, some agencies are changing and they're getting with the times, and some agencies are staying very traditional on a lot of things. I think facial hair is one of them, that as
Yeah.
long as you're going to stay well kept and you're not going to, like, you don't have a Duck Dynasty beard, like obviously that's a problem. That's not clean. I'm not
No.
that it's not clean, but it's not presentable
Yeah.
in
I
in a
mean,
uniform.
pretty much anything we do as far, like facial hair or tattoos, it's obviously got to be professional. It can't be
Right.
just whatever. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you can't stroll up to work with, a naked lady tattooed on your forearm and showing it to the public and stuff like that's
yeah.
obviously not on it. That's not acceptable. But
Yeah.
um, like all my tattoos have to do with my family, my job, my religion, and the comic book stuff, my country, and the comic book stuff I like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have anything that's vulgar. Even on the hidden stuff, like I don't have anything that's vulgar, anything that's inappropriate. I don't have anything that, no foul language, even though I've got a mouth like a sailor, like I don't have any vulgarities on my body anywhere. I mean, um, it just, I think it's something that is, in this day and age, just an expression of who you are and how you feel about things. And
Yeah.
I think it's good for morale to not, be so stingy and uptight about stuff like that. And, thank God our agency agrees. I think they agree, and most agencies are starting to get on that trend. And I think it's for the better.
Yeah, a lot of agencies have been approving of the tattoos, and then you're starting to be able to grow beards, and we're getting there. Hopefully, our agency will go to beards eventually.
If not, we'll live.
If not, all right. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I shave every day anyway, so it's not like it's gonna affect me
one of the
a lot.
bunch of the guys we work with complain because they can't grow beards anyway. They're like,
Yeah,
26-year-old children. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think there's a million and one positives. I mean, yeah, there's going to be negatives to everything. Like I said, there are people that are just super stuck in their old ways, and they're like, "Oh, you look trashy, like a criminal." Like, so many people's, like, it got to the point where I held out on tattoos for so long. I think because it got to the point where, you used to, back in my day when I was a youngin, you used to have, having a tattoo made you different. It made you stand out. And now everybody and their grandmother, little Gen Zers that have never been punched in the face or ever committed a crime, like they've never had crosswords for anybody, they have tattoos. So it's not like it's a tough guy thing anymore. It's not like it's a criminal thing or a military thing anymore. Everybody's got them. And I think I held out for so long because it was almost like I was unique for not having any, because everybody I knew had at least one, even if it was some tiny little stupid thing on their chest or on their back or whatever. Like, everybody had one. So
yeah.
And then I caved, and then I got addicted to having tattoos because they hurt like hell. They hurt like hell, especially.
They do hurt.
I mean, the inside of the forearm, the bicep was the worst. But everybody's different, because my wife has a sleeve too, and she's got it on the inside there. And she's like, that was one of the easiest tattoos that I've ever gotten. That was awful. But then she gets them in other places and she's like, it's terrible. I'm like, that was nothing. Like I got one on my thigh and she was like, that was terrible. I'm like, I almost fell asleep on that one. That one was fantastic. I would suggest, if anybody's trying to get their first tattoo, do it on the outside of the bicep, the most common place, because that probably hurt the least. I've gotten a couple on my chest, and had I done that first, I would probably have not gotten another tattoo ever, because that was unbearable and that was miserable. And then try going to work and like wearing a vest on top of it and it rubbing, and so, oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still get more there, but it was terrible. I was miserable, hated it. So, but they look good when they're done. They look good, and you're like, I was worth the money.
Yeah. Another thing I was taught was, or not really taught, but I've found online, was like, whatever you're thinking about getting, just post it on your wall and look at it every day for a year. And if you still want it, go ahead and get it. Because if you don't want it, it's more painful to have it removed than to actually get it.
Yeah, you'd be better off if you end up hating your tattoo, you'd be better off just covering it up with another tattoo
Yeah,
because
you can do that too.
the laser sucks.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful too because covering it up's not easy either. They have to, put certain colors over certain colors to make sure it actually covers up and stuff. So
Multiple sessions, regardless if you do the laser or not, it's still multiple sessions.
that's
Yeah.
brutal.
Regardless, it's going to be brutal.
That no, I'm saying the laser removal is awful from what I've seen. It's terrible, like worse than getting an actual tattoo. So, yeah, just make good decisions. And I try to tell my kids all the time, because the oldest one, he got his first one about a year or two ago, and it was on the thigh, and he did not look happy to be getting it. Like he's happy now, it looks good. He's done with the color, he's done with everything. I mean, he wanted to go add more and stuff, but I mean, he was not thrilled. He was surprised at how bad it hurt, and we had so many. He was like, how bad could it really be if you guys went back that many times? We're stupid. We're stupid. So yeah, I mean, it sucks and it hurts, but I tell him to make good decisions when it comes to make good decisions when it comes to doing all that stuff. Because it's a Dragon Ball Z tattoo, and in a couple years he might not. I'm sure he'll love Dragon Ball Z forever, but
Yeah.
just in case, like maybe you meet a girl and she's like, anime's dumb, and then you got to stop liking anime because you're stupid, and you do what a girl tells you to do because you're young and you want to impress a girl. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I like him. I hate. Well, I mean, feel free if you see something on my arm that you like or you question it. Great. I love talking about them. I'll tell you all the meaning behind it and the story, and the ones that are in other languages. I'll tell you the translations and stuff. But
Yeah.
don't just walk up to people and grab their arm and start touching it and going, "Oh my God, no, tell me about this tattoo." Yeah, don't touch people. People don't like that.
Especially when we're on duty. That's a very big no.
Yeah, don't touch. I mean, you wouldn't like me randomly touching you on your face and going, "Oh, I like your eyes. They're so nice. Like, tell me about them." Like, you wouldn't like that. Don't touch my arm asking about my tattoos or whatever. You can ask about them. Just don't be touching people.
Yeah.
People don't like that.
It doesn't require any extra energy to sit there and point and say, "Hey, what's that?"
The question is, you have one tattoo. Yes. Where is it?
It is right here.
Okay. And are you planning on getting more? I know you said that it's hard with saving money for houses and stuff like that, but
yes, I do. I plan on getting some up on my arm, another one over here.
Yeah, buddy.
And that's probably about it. I'm probably going to avoid the back and the chest.
The chest is awful. I'm just forewarning you. I've got 3 on the chest, and it was supposed to eventually spread into like the whole thing, but it sucks. It sucks. But it looks awesome, especially like when I was in better shape and you could like stand in the mirror and flex and you're like, look at me. Like tattoos always look better when you're swole and you're in good shape. I mean, they always look better. So, but I mean, that's all I got. Use good decisions. I think there's no reason that they don't have a place in law enforcement anymore. It makes me sick when I go to the hospitals and I see they've got the sleeves on still covering them. I'm like, dude, half these people that come here in the ER are dirtballs that were just over ODing on the side of the road. Like, but they don't care about your tattoos. Like, get out of here. And half the time, like, you see people like my wife, especially on women, it's becoming so socially acceptable on women now. Like, my wife all the time, because I told you she's got a sleeve and then she's got a like me, like one arm she's got most of it pieced together, and on the other one it's a full sleeve. People are always like, "Oh my God, I love your tattoo. It's so nice. Where do you get it done? Oh my God, it's so pretty." And it's like it's gotten so socially acceptable for women now.
So socially acceptable in general.
Yeah, but even when it got socially acceptable for men, I think it's still for a long time in certain circles it was kind of viewed as like, well, that's still a trashy guy thing to do. Women shouldn't do that. And it's now, I think it's opened up to the world. Like, women are getting so many tattoos now that people are starting to slowly stop having that opinion that, women shouldn't have tattoos or they look trashy or whatever on women. But I mean, I like them. I like them on women. Like, bring me a tattooed female versus an untattooed female. I mean, that's my thing. So,
yeah. And, just a piece of advice, not telling you what to do or anything, but don't get a spouse's name tattooed or a girlfriend. It general generally it's bad luck, and if it doesn't work out, then you got that person's name tattooed to you.
If you do it, make sure that it's somebody that's, uh, going to be around a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these 9 times out of 10, from what I've seen when people get names tattooed on them, they're people that shouldn't even really probably be together in the first place, and
Yeah.
they're just trying to force it, and or it's a fly by night thing, and they just slap a name on their body and then they regret it. Like if you got married to, if you dated a woman for 5 years and you've been married for 15 years, like at that point, what does it matter? Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, if your guys' marriage was going to fall apart, it was going to fall apart. But in that, I mean, I'm superstitious as hell. But
Yeah. Same here, but
slapping that name on there, if you slap that name on there and your relationship falls apart, it was going to fall apart anyway.
yeah. So possibly, I know Fire Chronicles have already done a video about first responders being superstitious, but it is true. As soon as you get into this job, there's certain obviously phrases you don't say when you're working.
We already talked about the Q word.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
Don't say the Q word. There's just certain things you don't do because it tends to happen.
Yeah, is it really superstition if it gets proved to be accurate on a regular basis? Is it really superstition at that point?
Don't ever say the Q word. Don't ever say, "Oh, this sounds like nothing."
Yeah,
I've had somebody say, "Oh, it's the Q word," and then I get dispatched to a call, and they're like, "Oh, that's nothing," and then it turns out to be this whole fiasco where two families are fist fighting each other in the middle of the road, and it's like, no.
See, do you want to get punched in the face by a coworker? Because that's how you get punched in the face by a coworker. I mean, you can't just, it's not just the Q word, it's any variation. Like it's not even just like, oh, well, it's quiet tonight. Like it could be anything. Like, man, not a lot of traffic on the radio right now. What's going on? Or I haven't been to that house in a while. Like, oh.
I haven't dealt with a specific person that gives us problems all the time in a while. Oh, the radio actually works. I haven't heard it in forever.
It's like, literally, it's like clockwork. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, it's quiet tonight. Get toned out to a traffic crash, roll over with 3 burning cars and a building exploded. And it's like, who's the idiot? Who's the idiot that said the Q word? Like, you moron.
Yeah.
That's all I got for you, man. At risk of going off on more tangents, that's all I got for you.
Yeah, they're substantial tangents, though. So, anyways, that was our show. If you like this content, like, subscribe, comment below for suggestions. If you hate us, we're still on the road to getting 1,000 subscribers, so maybe we can do this a little bit more often and actually get paid for it and actually move into a studio.
Yeah. No more Zoom.
No more being in opposite rooms or anything. But
in order for that to happen, you have to like, subscribe, follow, all that nonsense, comment, interact. We've got social media. Brian and I have been discussing our social media lately, and we're going to start dropping some stuff, even if it's not just clips from the show. We're going to be dropping memes. We're going to be dropping stuff that we see that we find funny, things that we find thought-provoking that maybe we're not going to find time for on the show. Feel free to jump in there and discuss it with us. We answer whenever people post comments and stuff, so we're there. We're on our phones all the time. We're like teenage children on our phones constantly. Me more than him, but
yeah. Well, which is kind of funny considering I'm the younger one and out of the two of us, and I usually on my days off put my phone in the other side of my room unless I'm going somewhere.
So again, just like and subscribe, follow, all that nonsense, and keep in touch with us and keep hitting us up, and we'll do everything we can. If you have any questions, I know we did our fact and myth before. If you have any questions for that, anything that you think you'd like to know more about, we'll use it as a topic idea if we think we can stretch it into a topic, or we'll throw it into something like a fact or myth where we can address it and then move on. We're open to questions, comments, concerns, and stuff. So
yeah, if you'd like to see the two other guests that we've had, Ron
Parrish,
Parrish,
and then
yeah,
Parrish, yeah.
Ron, if you'd like to see them back, or we're gonna try and hopefully maybe get new people on here as well.
Especially now that we've switched rotations and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's a little more difficult with Ron and with Parrish, but we've made crazier things happen. So
yeah, and we'll be dropping more shorter videos where we dissect critical incidences. Sovereign citizens is a topic I absolutely enjoy talking about.
we are working on the sovereign citizen stuff, because
Yes,
that's some good stuff. Like, if nothing else, it's terrifying, but at the same time, it's hilarious, because
yeah,
some of the nonsense these idiots get themselves into is fantastic.
yeah. It's hilarious to sit back and not be in that situation dealing with the person and just watching the exchange and how a person justifies what they're doing.
They usually end in a taser. It's fantastic.
Usually ends in tasing or having their window bashed open. So, like I said, subscribe to catch those videos. We'll be dropping more videos. Sovereign Citizen. Something to give you a little preview. There's something called the Public Servant Questionnaire that we supposedly have to fill out before they'll answer any questions. So we'll see if there's any legal basis to that.
It's going to be a good one, trust me.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit all. Don't worry about personalization. I don't even know what the heck that does. But that's all I got for you.
Yeah. Just keep at us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.